Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Church at Home with Rachel. Today is Tuesday, the 3rd of September, and we are back at it. I had 26 days of August off, took some time at our diocesan cottage, Cropthorne, for some rest and relaxation. I was on my own. Rob wasn't able to get time off, so I read a lot of books and I did a little work, and I watched the whole first season, only season of Law and Order Los Angeles. It's too bad that they didn't follow it up. I really am a Law and Order fan. But, I just kind of vegged out, and then we spent some time. Took 4 days to go to Alberta for a wedding, and then other times just sort of bebopping around. Went to Winnipeg a couple times and did things like that. But really just needed the time down, met some friends, had some people come over and stay with us for a little while, and just took some time off. And now I am raring to go. I don't do holidays well, so I've been sneaking in and doing work from time to time, but I'm back and at it and incredibly busy in the next couple of months. So Church at Home is going to be as often as possible, but I'll give you a heads up if I'm going to take some time off. November, there will probably be considerable time off because I'm going to England, to Canterbury, for new bishop's school, sometimes referred to as baby bishop school. And when I'm there, I won't necessarily have access to the internet on a regular basis, so we'll have to see what happens come November. But for now, here I am, glad to be back. One of the things the thing I really want to focus on today is that whole being back, and this sense of being back. Today is, for many, many young children and for students across the country, today is the first day of school. And this is a bittersweet day for me because school was always my thing. I love school. I was always that awful student that no one ever wants to be friends with, that gets all excited. Took my backpack to school, my brand new, for the year backpack, and I had my paper and my pencils and pens, and I was eager to go. And I was always disappointed when the teacher was be like, we'll hand out the textbooks later, and your English, the first book we're going to read is such and such, but we'll deal with that next week. And this week is the getting to know. And I always wanted homework and textbooks the first day of school. I always wanted to come home on a Friday on the first week of school and have work to do and get at it and establish myself, get good habits started. And my teachers, they cursed me because they almost never gave homework other than, the proverbial what I did this summer essay and things like that nobody took seriously. I always thought if I could just get started on the first day back, then I will establish my routine and my rhythm and my pattern for the rest of the year, and that would be great. And then my teachers failed me, didn't give us anything, made us fill out forms and hand them in, and I went home with an empty backpack most of the time. In university, I did the same thing. I went out and I bought every textbook. The first day, we walk in and they give us the syllabus and what we have to buy. I go and line up for hours at the school, the university, the university bookstore, and I would get all my texts and I'd get on the bus and they're breaking my back, and then discover that I actually, for all of that, I had no actual reading to do yet and things like that. Now, mind you, as university went on, that pattern changed. But I think that sense of newness and excitement about getting back into things is really important because it sets the tone for the rest of the time to come. I remember, like when I was a kid, we moved a lot. We moved quite often. So I started school in St. Thomas and did kindergarten to grade 3. And then we moved to Listowel and I went to Central and I did grade 4 and part of grade 5. Then we moved to Hanover and I went to James A. McGee and I did the rest of grade 5 and all of grade 6. Then we moved to Niagara Falls and I did 7 and 8 at Princess Margaret and grade 9 and 10 at Wesleyan High School. And then the school board changed things up and I had to go to A.N. Meyer for grade 11. And then we moved to London. And so I went to Saunders for grade 12 and 13. And because of the way I took my courses, I sort of fast-tracked courses. I ended up only going for all of grade 12 and then second semester of grade 13. So I did lots of different schools. And some schools were better than other about sort of how you start. And I was different in each one. In kindergarten, I was a nervous Nelly. My first day of school, I was terrified because I was a shy kid. and I didn't know what to expect, and I panicked. When we started in grade 4 at Central, I was still shy and everything, but my teacher, Mr. Bender, was amazing. He recognized that I was a brand new student in the classroom, and he didn't point me out, but he certainly helped me out in ways that were encouraging. When we moved to Hanover, it was a little bit easier because it sounds weird because we moved in the middle of the school year. I started school in January at my new school. And you'd think that because of the kids would already be accepted in their groups and things like that. But because I came in, I was the only new person coming in. I was a bit of a novelty. And so people wanted to get to know me. And even though things weren't perfect in grade 5 and 6, I ended up with a core group of friends and people who lived in my neighborhood that I could hang out with, that I felt comfortable with, that I could chum with. It did not hurt that we had a swimming pool. I think that might be part of it. Kids wanted to come over. Going into grade 7 in Niagara Falls was even more difficult. We moved in July, and I met no one until the first day of school. Everybody, there were tons of kids. Same thing happened in London, tons of kids, but they were all gone to camp or doing their thing. And it made it a little bit more difficult. And I was getting to be a teenager, so it got anxious. But that first day, that first week of school sort of set the tone for what would happen for the rest of the year. Summer, you get a bit of a reset. You can, try new things. But that first day of school, that first week sets the tone. And I keep thinking to myself as I was getting prepared for coming back to work and doing everything that needs to get done in really a new situation, because I've only been a bishop for 6 months, middle of April, May, June, July, August, 5.5 months. And I am still learning what to do and what has to get done, and recognizing, giving myself permission to know that there's so much that has to get done, lots of it won't, as I get myself up to speed. And baby bishop school will help, I imagine. But knowing that when you come in on your first day, whether it's the first day after holidays, first day in a brand new job, first day at school, first day in a new grade, first day at university or college or trade school, the way we approach that first day can have a significant impact on the way the rest of our time in that situation goes on. If we approach it in a way where we're terrified and scared, that's okay. It's what we do with our terror and our fear. If I'm terrified, because there are things that I'm like freaked out about being a bishop, and if I acknowledge, I've got a couple people here in the office who I work very closely with. One of them is the newly minted Archdeacon Cheryl Kukuruds, who is, as of Sunday, is an archdeacon. She'll be collated or officially made an archdeacon at our anniversary service on the 22nd. But she is working. She is now an archdeacon. She is my executive assistant. She is my executive archdeacon. She's the person that I have to talk to and work closely with. And she's very easy to work with and helps me to calm down. I think I do the same for her in some ways, that we have developed over the last several months a back and forth, a way of being able to work with each other, understand how we're feeling, and be able to say, okay, so we're worried about this. How do we dispel the worry? Prayer, facing the worry head on, not procrastinating, things like that. If you come into a brand new day, brand new first day of school, whatever it might be, terrified and fearful, that's normal and that's real and that's okay. Because as I just said, it's how you deal with that. If you take a deep breath and say a prayer and say, God, I know you're with me, and this is a new experience that I don't know how to respond or react to yet. Please help me to be aware, to have situational awareness, to be aware of the people around me, to be aware of what it is I'm called to do, and then trust that we're going to be okay. Most of the things we face are not going to kill us. Being embarrassed, as much as it may seem like it, will not kill us. Not knowing the answer to something will not kill us. Getting lost in the school or in our workplace or getting to our workplace will not kill us. It will help us if we calm down and acknowledge that whatever experience we're having, whatever we are experiencing, is a part of who we are in this present moment, and it's okay. It is okay to be worried and nervous about a brand new experience. It is okay to be concerned about what happens if I don't make friends, Or what happens if I'm not smart enough for that class? Or what happens if? What happens if? That's normal. Don't get mad at yourself for the what happened ifs questions. What happens now after you ask that question is the key response. The answer to what happens if can only be answered if we step into the question. What happens if I'm not smart enough for this classroom? Then I guess I go and ask my teacher for help. I try to find another student who could tutor me. I take a deep breath and ask myself, what is it that I'm afraid of that's keeping me from being able to learn? If we're nervous about a new job or not getting everything done that has to get done, we need to take a deep breath and say, okay, how do we prioritize this? Is this something that must be done right now? Not because I'm anxious about it, but because this is something that must be done. Like getting in the car, one of the things you need to do, it must be done, is put on your seatbelt. You don't put on your seatbelt after, you shouldn't be putting on your seatbelt after you've driven a mile toward your school or your workplace. That should be one of those things you do immediately. Okay, seatbelt buckled. And now we continue. I mean, that sounds really silly, but really, every time we have a decision to make about what we do next, we can really sit down and say, is this urgent? Meaning it has to be done right now. Is it also important? Like, if I really have to go to the bathroom, this is urgent, and actually it is really important. So go take care of business. If someone says to me, I need you to call me back immediately, this is an urgent thing, it is urgent to them. Is it urgent to you? Do you have the ability in this moment? Is it important to you? It is important to them, obviously, and it's urgent for them. But does that mean it's urgent for you and important for you? So there's urgent and important. Then there's important and not urgent. And then there's not important and not urgent. You have to sort of figure out which things are which. And sometimes it will seem obvious. You lay those things out on a piece of paper, and people would say, well, obviously that's urgent and that's important, or that's not important. But you have to look inside yourself and look at your own nervous system and say, wait a minute. For instance, it may not be important to other people if you get your textbooks the first day of school, or your syllabus, or the expectations of what's going to happen, when are assignments due. But if you're the kind of person who runs on anxious until you know what is expected of you, that is urgent and important. And it's okay to go to your teacher or your employer and say, can you please, I know you're going to deal with that eventually, but can you please give it to me now? That would help me. They may say no, but they may say, oh, absolutely, here you go. And then you can calm down. Recognizing how we face the challenges that we have before us, especially when we're starting a new thing, is absolutely essential to our success. And the biggest essential thing for all of this is recognizing that someone else's essentials are not yours. You know your own style. You know how you feel. You know how you work. You know what you need. You know what you don't need. So screw your courage to the sticking place, as Lady Macbeth would say, and take a look at what's in front of you and determine for yourself what is urgent and important and what is not urgent and not important. And make your decisions in a manner that makes sense to you. Because if it makes sense to you and it decreases your anxiety, it will increase your ability to do all of those things well. And isn't that what we want to do? Whether it's school or work or life or relationships, we want to decrease our anxiety and increase our sense of being able to do something and then have at it. We can absolutely do this. So whatever you're starting anew today, or if you're not starting anything anew, God bless you, and make sure you do that. Go back into yourself and do that work of reflecting and saying, what do I need of me? Not just what do they need of me, but what do I need of me? Because when I figure that out, then I'm better able to give them what they need of me. Have a great day, everybody. God bless, and I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachael.